On today's show, it's a game day preview. The Ottawa Senators are back home to take on Erik Karlsson and the Pittsburgh Penguins.
And an Ottawa Senators legend gets a well-deserved honor.
This is Brady Tkachuk, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
Your Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome. You are locked on to the Ottawa Senators. I'm Ross Levitan alongside Brandon Piller, and today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your live bets all season long. Today is Thursday, December 18th, and Pilsy, the Senators are finally back home after playing 10 of their last 13 games on the road.
Yeah, let's get some home cooking here, Ross, because last time the Ottawa Senators came home, the home cooking was not fresh. It was not ready. It was spoiled. So let's make sure we got the meals prepped, ready to go here for some nice points served here. I'm not going to go must-win game here, Ross, but it's important to be able to come back from a road trip properly this time. Like if they lay another egg tonight, then I think the pressure really gets going for the next two home games.
Sens have lost 4 straight at home, and I think just as bad as that is the lack of offense on home ice. Yeah, sure, they scored 3 in their last game, 4-3 loss against the Devils. I'm talking last games at home. But before that, it was 1 against St. Louis, 2 against the Rangers, and they got shut out by the LA Kings. So let's hear song 2. Let's hear that Via Rail horn buzzing through the CTC. The GLEBE Central Pub Shuttle will be running tonight. Shout out to Rob. 6 tickets on it. Love to see it. Make sure you let him know Locked On Senators sent you. The vibes are going to be immaculate at the rink tonight because you got to welcome back the boys after that elite performance late in the third period in overtime against the Winnipeg Jets. And look, over these last 13 games, the Senators are 6-7-0. But then you think about it, man, it's usually harder to get points on the road. And after those 3 losses at home are taken out, they're 6-4-0. on their last 10 road games. So that's a good place to be, above 500, just like they finished that 7-game trip. So let's see the boys bring that energy and effort onto home ice tonight. I cannot wait. The first matchup of the season against the Pittsburgh Penguins, a team that Ottawa has had some recent success against. You'll remember last year, of course, the Tristan Jarry game, as it will be affectionately known. Linus Ullmark was playing both ends of a back-to-back that night. He was awesome. He's going to get the start tonight, so we will continue monitoring his workload as we get into the Christmas break. Maybe tomorrow on the show we'll discuss which of the remaining games we would like to see Levi Merilainen get to, but tonight it's going to be all about what the Ottawa Senators have to do. Yeah, the Sens went 2-0-1 last season against the Pittsburgh Penguins, so you've got to keep that momentum rolling. We'll get to the Penguins' lines. They are without Evgeny Malkin tonight, but they're also struggling as is. They haven't won a game in their last 6. They do have some loser points in there, but they're going to be a hungry bunch, and they think they're bringing a secret weapon to tonight's game, Pilsy. We can't let this dad's trip be a reason why the Sens lose.
Yeah, I'm a little nervous about the dad trip energy and vibe that could be brought to this game. We usually put a little extra motivation behind the Sens when they're on their dad's trips. So let's hope that doesn't work in the Penguins' favor. But there's one other part, Ross, that I'm a little bit nervous about. The Ottawa Senators are famous for allowing milestones to happen against them. Sidney Crosby is 2 points away from passing Mario Lemieux for most points in Pittsburgh Penguins franchise history. So that makes me nervous.
Well, what's more impressive, to say all-time Penguins history or 8th all-time in NHL points?
Now, both are obviously impressive, but to take over a franchise milestone like that, that's a big one.
Now, tonight will be Sidney Crosby's 1,385th game, so a little bit of an asterisk. He's played 470 more games than Mario Lemieux.
Yeah, that's insane.
That will always be one of the most astounding things when you look at the all-time NHL points leaders. Mario Lemieux is the only NHL points leader, and he's 7th right now. But up until 43rd overall, Peter Stastny, to play under 1,000 games in the NHL.
Yeah.
That's incredible. So it's obviously astounding what Sidney Crosby has been able to do with the pressure that was put on him at such a young age, for him to not only match, but I would say exceed the expectations. 2 Olympic gold medals, 3 Stanley Cups, and he's still playing at such an elite level now at age 37. Just signed a contract extension. He's going to keep climbing that list. We'll see how high he can get, but hopefully not tonight against the Ottawa Senators. Sidney Crosby does not have a goal in his last 4 games against Ottawa. He does only have 1 goal, no assists in his last 4 games against the Senators. And all time, yeah, he's got a lot. 58 points in 52 career games against Ottawa, and that's just regular season. Don't make me rip the Band-Aid off. I've patched those Penguins wounds up from 2017, from 2013, from 2010. I've had enough of the Pittsburgh Penguins in the playoffs, so I'm not getting the numbers of Sidney Crosby against Ottawa there. They're pretty good, though. I'll leave it at that. Ottawa, though, like I said, this is about the Senators tonight. It's not about the Pittsburgh Penguins. What do you think needs to happen tonight for Ottawa to put on a show for the home crowd?
Let's get a goal right away. A quick goal. I know, Ross, we flipped things around and you were like, who cares about the starts? Let's work on the finishing. But I do think it's important coming back, especially after the way the last homestand went. Get that first goal, get the crowd into it right away, because the CTC crowd was not that fired up during the homestand. And I'm not blaming the fans. The Sens didn't exactly give them a lot to be excited about, but let's get that barn going right away so that we can get a hometown advantage.
Yeah, I like that as well. And if we look at the numbers in tonight's game, Ottawa, their power play, for all the struggle it's had, is 5th in the National Hockey League right now, 25.5%. But that still is a far cry away from the Penguins, who have an elite power play this year, clicking at over 31%. So discipline is going to be a key tonight for the Senators to not allow those dangerous offensive players, Hall of Famers. I mean, I know Malkin's not there, but they still have 3 Hall of Famers future on their power play units with Letang, Karlsson, and of course, Sidney Crosby. So Ottawa, discipline for me, going to be a huge one. Having the shifts after a penalty, if they do take one, you're going to have to win the even strength battle. And they have way better numbers at even strength than the Pittsburgh Penguins. If you look at their the way they control play with their shot attempts and their expected goals at 5-on-5, the Senators are 4th in the league at expected goals percentage at 5-on-5. The Penguins are literally the most mid team, as the kids would say. They are exactly 50%, half and half. No other team in the NHL is right at 50%, but there are the Pittsburgh Penguins. And Pilsy, I'm sure you noticed that they're exactly 1 for every 2 in the faceoff dot as well.
Yeah, going 50%. You don't see that very often, to be exactly even, but that's another area where the Sens should be able to dominate, especially with Evgeny Malkin not in the picture here.
We always talk about power play percentage, penalty kill percentage. You want those to add up to 100 to have success in those situations. The Senators are currently sitting at 96 when you add up their 25.5 power play with their penalty kill that, hey, stick taps, over 70%. It was in the 60s for way too long. Senators PK now 70.5. But if you look at the Penguins and why they've been able to continually overperform this year, obviously their last 6 games aside, that's why. Their PK is over 81% as well. So if you add those 2 numbers up, you're looking at 113. So they are clearly making their mark when they have advantage situations one way or another. They also have a better shooting percentage, barely, than the Senators. They have a better team save percentage than the Senators by a little bit. This game could come down to who makes the bad mistake at the wrong time. And Ottawa's been on the wrong end of that a couple times this season. So if you're the Senators, I think it's just about, getting off to a great start and a lead early would be huge. But it's about just playing a responsible, structured game, because on paper, with all due respect to the great players and great careers that the Penguins have had, the Senators right now in the year 2025-26, this team is better than the Penguins. So they just need to make less mistakes than them, and they should be able to come out on top.
Yeah, but I'm not overlooking this team, Ross, because you saw the power play numbers, the penalty kill. Sure, they don't have Malkin, but they still have this handful of really good players, and their lineup is actually fairly decent, where I think this game is going to be won and lost is going to be goaltending. Both teams have bad goaltending this year. The Pittsburgh Penguins were getting great goaltending. Well, I should say great. They were getting good goaltending from Tristan Jarry. They just traded him. Now Stuart Skinner's there. We're going to see if Stuart Skinner can manage without the goal support that came along with McDavid, Draisaitl. But the Pittsburgh Penguins, they score a lot of goals as well. So maybe that run and gun game will end up working out for him here. But I think this is going to be a game where we take an eye at the over. I think there's going to be a lot of goals scored here, but we need Linus Ullmark to be the better goalie. Now, I'm not sure have they announced whether it's going to be Skinner or Shilovs yet?
No, they have not. Daily Faceoff saying unconfirmed, but they're thinking Shilovs. They've got him as the projected starter here, and he's been a very good goalie this year. I mean, he just won the champion. No, his numbers aren't good.
Games started 14. He's 4-4-6 with a 320 goals against and an 893 save percentage. So the save percentage is higher than Ullmark is, but the goals against at 320, not great.
Well, yeah, and that's because his last 4 games have been horrendous. He's got a 785 in his last 4 games. I knew he started well. He got a shutout.
He did start well, yes.
With the Pens, he also won 3 of his first 4 starts, although he gave up 6 in the loss. But yeah, he is struggling in his last 4 appearances and has taken a 0-2-2 record as a result of that. 17 goals against on his last 79 shots. So yeah, get to Shilovs early, but he did win the championship for Abbotsford last spring. So he's got big game situation. He even played playoff games when Thatcher Demko couldn't go with the Canucks. He comes over there. They kind of steal him, in my opinion, but he has come back down to earth in the last little while. Hilarious record, though, the 6 overtime losses there. So yeah, we'll see who starts in goal for the Penguins. I don't even want to look at Stuart Skinner's career stats against Ottawa because I'm sure the wins are there. The Edmonton Oilers have had a lot of success against the Sens, but different situation for him. And also, goalie-friendly show, nothing funnier than last game where Tristan Jarry was wearing a Penguins helmet against them, and Skinner was wearing his Oilers helmet against them. Jarry actually joked after the game, this guy's a quote machine. I didn't know that about Jarry. He said that, hey, we probably should have just traded helmets before the game.
Yeah, then everything would have been a clean look. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, let's look at the lineups going into tonight's game. There's also an Erik Karlsson stat that I want to get into. Plus, Jacques Martin is going to the Ring of Honor. It is so well-deserved. We'll look back on his time and continued time with the Ottawa Senators and wonder, who should be the next Ring of Honor inductee? Let us know in the comments on YouTube. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift, a receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. Live spreads and money lines adjust instantly. Player props update as guys heat up. You can bet on next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, and every possibility. And we're going to be locked in to the Ottawa Senators tonight. They are favorites, heavy favorites, I would say, up against the Pittsburgh Penguins at -170. The over-under set at 6.5. That's -106 odds. I'm going to be hitting that over. I think lots of goals are happening tonight. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you.
Today's episode is also brought to you by the GLEBE Central Pub. If you're looking for a place that lives and breathes hockey, check them out at 779 Bank Street, right in the heart of the Glebe, just steps from Lansdowne. It's the perfect place to catch every game every night with great food and awesome drink. Plus, the GCP has something going on almost every night of the week. You can start your week with a wing night every Monday, all day and all night. Tonight, you've got those cheap tacos. And of course, the Sens Shuttle. Tickets are available for all home December dates right now at GLEBECentralPub.com. Be like Rob. Bring your friends and get on the GCP shuttle. You can get your tickets for just $18 round trip. The bus goes out of the pub at 779 Bank Street an hour and 15 minutes before the game, and it will bring you right back, right where it drops you off. It's super easy. You're not wondering, oh man, gotta find the bus. No, it's so streamlined, so easy, and you literally wave at the cars that are parked there as you exit the CTC. So head to the place where the vibes are free at the GLEBE Central Pub, 779 Bank Street, and let them know that Locked On Senators sent you. All right, Pillsy, game day for the Ottawa Senators. It is a 7 o'clock start at the Canadian Tire Center. It is a TSN 5 game. And of course, right after the final buzzer, head to YouTube where we will have the postcast live after this home matchup. It is one of 10 games on the National Hockey League calendar tonight. Some games that Sens fans will be keeping an eye on. The Edmonton Oilers visiting the Boston Bruins. The Chicago Blackhawks are in Montreal to take on the Habs. LA continues its road trip in Tampa after losing to Florida last night. Boo. And the Toronto Maple Leafs will avoid any hope of being booed off the ice because they're on the road, taking on the Capitals in Washington. At 7:30, the Buffalo Sabres will host the Philadelphia Flyers. All right, Pillsy, let's take a look at the Ottawa Senators lines, and this is based on yesterday. The Senators have not had their morning skate yet, but we said, man, we got the Jacques Martin news. We got to hit record right now. We do have confirmation that Linus Ullmark starts in goal. The defenseman, let's work out from goal. Switch it up a little as the Senators need some juju back home to get back on track. Jake Sanderson with Artem Zub, Tyler Klevin with Jordan Spence, Nicholas Matinpalo with Nick Jensen. If you missed yesterday's episode, Thomas Chabot is getting close, but not quite ready. Will not play tonight. We'll keep our eye if that game on Saturday against Chicago is his return. Up front, Tim Stützle between Brady Tkachuk and Fabian Zetterlund. Dylan Cousins centering David Perron and Drake Batherson. Ridley Gregg between Michael Amadio and Claude Giroux, leaving Stephen Halliday with Curtis McDermott and Nick Cousins. Pillsy, your locked on player to watch.
My locked on player to watch is going to be Claude Giroux. I know it's not a matinee game, Ross, but another thing we always keep an eye out is whenever Claude Giroux goes up against his old Pennsylvania rival. The Pittsburgh Penguins obviously played a lot up against the Philadelphia Flyers in Claude Giroux's time, and Giroux has more points up against the Pittsburgh Penguins than any other franchise in his career. In 70 games, he has 76 points, 21 goals, 55 assists. So I'm going to be locked on to number 28, Claude Giroux, hoping that he can reignite some of that old passion in the rivalries. And we know him and Sidney Crosby don't always get along, so maybe he'll get a little chippy out there. And I want that third line to pop off like it had in the past.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And I would love to know, maybe a citizen can find this for me. How many faceoffs has Claude Giroux taken against Sidney Crosby in their careers? Crosby's got the most faceoffs in NHL history since they started tracking them. And Giroux's in the top 10 as well. And having all those divisional games back when they played 8 times a year. Remember that, where division rivals played that much? And then all the playoff series on top of that. Wow. Great call there with Claude Giroux. I was going to go with Michael Amadio, but you hit on that third line. So I'm going to go with Fabian Zetterlund tonight. Ooh. He had that nice little stretch of 5 goals in 9 games. He's been held off the score sheet in 4 straight. He's a -1 in each of those games. No shots on goal in the Winnipeg game. Now, he did have 7 in Minnesota, but he's a guy where I want it to be easier on Travis Green. He's had to put the blender in a little bit when they're down 1, trying to find more offense with Stützle and Tkachuk. Well, on paper, Fabian Zetterlund is the offense. So let's see him get back on track and get into scoring situations, maybe even just shots on net would be good enough for me, and have Brady at net front trying to bang away for rebounds. And a lot of Tim Stützle shots this season we were looking at yesterday have come from that home plate area. So as long as Zetterlund can drive in tight from the wing and be able to keep possession in the offensive zone, I think he could have a huge impact on tonight's game. So I'm going to go with Fabian Zetterlund as my locked on player.
I like it. Yeah. So we're looking at that right side, Zetterlund and Giroux. Let's go.
Also, Pillsy, we said it off air against Winnipeg, and he had a good chance. I think tonight's the night Stephen Halliday scores his first NHL goal.
I thought you were going to say Curtis McDermott.
Nope. I think Stephen Halliday, first
Yeah.
NHL goal is on the horizon right now. I
Okay.
feel it in my bones that Halliday is going to get a goal. I really do. So let's hope. No, I'm not going back-to-back games with the Levy lock.
Well, I mean, you said you feel it in your bones. Like that's kind of insinuating that you're quite sure it's going to happen.
No, it's a feeling. It's not an emphatic statement. No,
Well,
it's just
okay. So now anytime you say you feel something in your bones, I'm not going to put that much stock into it.
No, you don't have to. But then when I say Levy lock, I want those ears to perk right up. This is, though, Stephen Halliday's 10th NHL game. So credit to him hitting double digits in his career. Hey, if you told him before the season, hey, you're going to have 10 NHL games by Christmas, he'd be fired up, as he
Big
should.
Red.
No Pinto, no Lars Eller, no Thomas Chabot tonight. The extras are Ole Lixell and Dennis Gilbert. Okay, Pilsy. On the other side, we'll look at the Pittsburgh Penguins and what we expect to see from tonight's opponent. And then we'll have a great discussion about Jacques Martin and the future of the Senators' Ring of Honor. The Senators, though, they come into tonight just begging for some home cooking. Give me one of those Boston Bruins 7-1 results, 7-2 against Washington, right? The next game. But this, to me, could be one of those they got the get right feeling in Winnipeg. And now it's like, let's build on this. This team needs to go on a run here after dropping a few in a row. And this part of the schedule, there's no such thing as a soft part of the schedule, Pilsy, because this league is so tight. But they've got to take advantage of these 3 home games out of 4 they have before the break, the 1 road game, divisional in Boston. Huge 8 points are on the line in the next week for the Ottawa Senators, and it begins tonight against the team we will discuss next. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Monarch. The holidays are amazing, but they also can go overwhelming very quickly. You got all that travel, all the gifts, the parties, the year-end expenses. It's really easy to lose track of your money this time of year. That's why Monarch is such a game changer. If you want to keep your finances under control this holiday season, you need to be using Monarch. Rated Wall Street Journal's best budgeting app of 2025, Monarch is the all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, simple dashboard. The holiday spending category, that's going to be a lifesaver for you. You can see exactly what's left in your gift and travel budget in real time. In minutes, you can check your net worth, link all of your accounts, and keep track of your contributions before deadlines. And it's great for couples, shared dashboard, shared goals, and fewer wait. How much did we spend? Conversations. So don't let the financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarch.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarch.com with code LOCKEDONNHL.
Already live your team. Every day it's time to make it official. Now take it up a level, go ad-free, and join the Everydayer Club and get Locked On Senators with no interruptions, ad-free. Members only Discord access and more, all for just $5 a month or $50 for the entire year. That's USD. You can go check out supercast.com. The link is in our description below. We've also got the all access tier if you want some bonus content in your inbox. All right, Pilsy, tonight's Pittsburgh Penguins team. I'm not going to say they're as desperate as the Winnipeg Jets were going into last game, but they very well could be. After an exceptional start, especially versus expectations, they have struggled mightily of late. This is going to be a team that will look to pounce on you early and go from there. This is a tough matchup when you look at it from that standpoint. We talked about the dad's trip, and one other note, Erik Karlsson has played 13 career games against the Ottawa Senators. He's a -6 with 7 assists and no goals. I want to say, let me double check on the Seattle Kraken and the Utah Mammoth, but of teams that have actually been in the league for a substantial part of time, it's the only team that he's never scored a goal against. And the Seattle Kraken, add him to the list. He does have a goal against Utah. So Seattle and Ottawa, the only teams that Erik Karlsson has not scored a goal against.
Ross, I don't like that's not a good thing. That's a bad thing.
Is it?
I mean, we know players that have no NHL goals tend to score up against the Ottawa Senators and no goals up against the Ottawa Senators. That scares me a little that tonight's going to be the night.
Well, if you want to get wild and you think that milestones are going to happen against the Senators, why don't you just say he's going to have a 5-point night? Because he's 5 points away from 900 in his NHL career.
Well, I don't want that either. 5
Okay.
assists, that would not make me happy either.
Oh, man. Yeah. He's got 895 points. Funny enough, he's actually tied in all-time points with Matt Duchene, which might be the most depressing 1-2 name drop in Sens history, because that era when they were on the team together might be the most depressing time I've ever been a fan of this Ottawa Senators team. But those times are gone. And the time is now. The time is not for the Ottawa Senators to get a victory tonight. Here's how the Penguins are expected to line up. That number 87 guy, Sidney Crosby? Sidney Crosby? Oh, Sidney Crosby. Sidney Crosby will center Ricard Raquel and Brian Rust. The second line, Tommy Novak between Anthony Mantha and Justin Brazeau. The third line, Ben Kindle with Kevin Hayes and Rutger McGroarty. And the fourth line is Danton Heinen with Connor Dewar and Noel Achari. On the back end, Parker Wotherspoon with Erik Karlsson, Ryan Shea with Chris Letang, and Brett Kulak with Jack St. Ivany. In goal, we are still waiting confirmation. It will either be Arthur Sheloves or Stuart Skinner. Pilsy, your lookout player to watch.
My lookout player to watch is going to be a guy I loved in this last draft. I wanted him to slide to the Sens, but he ended up getting drafted well before the Sens could even have an opportunity. 11th overall by the Pittsburgh Penguins. I'm talking, of course, about Ben Kindle, and he's having a nice start to his NHL career, Ross. He went straight from the WHL with Calgary Hitmen, where he had 99 points in 65 games, to the NHL with the Pittsburgh Penguins. In 29 games so far, he's got 8 goals, 6 assists, 14 points so far. And what's been really impressive about Kindle, and where I'm going to be really looking out for him, is on the power play. Half of his goals have been scored on the power play, 4 of them. He's second on the team in power play goals, behind only Sidney Crosby. So
wow.
This is a guy I liked a lot, watching him play for the Hitmen. And
I think I compared him to Claude Giroux in terms of the hockey IQ and an undersized centerman.
Okay, nice. So, well,
people can go check out our draft profile. It's available on YouTube. You can get our thoughts from right before the pick. And people were shocked that he went that early, and then boom, he steps right into the National League.
Yeah, and I mean, I was a little bit shocked he went that early, but I feel vindicated that one of, if not my favorite player from that draft class, was a guy that went much earlier than expected. Like, we thought he was going to be available for the Sens in the early 20s.
And some people thought that would have been too high.
Yeah. So, Pilsy, scout over here. I could have made that pick easily. But, yeah, I'm going to be looking out for number 81.
Okay, I'm going to look out for number 2, Rutger McGroarty. There's a lot made about him demanding a trade before even playing a game for the Winnipeg Jets. And I thought the Jets actually did pretty good, basically swapping a first-round pick from the year before and Braden Yeager, who's doing really well with the Manitoba Moose. Rutger McGroarty, he's done well in the AHL, but in the NHL, hasn't been as easy as maybe he thought it would be. He's only played 8 games this season, has 1 goal, 1 assist. He's -2. He will get an opportunity now because of the injuries that the Penguins have up front. So I'm going to be very curious to see what Rutger McGroarty looks like. His 1 goal came 3 games ago, and his assist came 2 games ago. So his confidence is going to be something that really affects him. He's got this swagger like a lot of those young American kids watch at the World Juniors, the celebrations and everything. He's a very over-the-top type player. And to me, it's about being physical with him. He's a very big man. He's listed at 6'1", 215 at 21 years old. So he's not going to be the easiest guy to knock off the puck, but I think if you can get him questioning his ability, you're going to be winning the battle there. And that line, not the fastest. I don't think McGroarty's got the biggest wheels, and Kevin Hayes at this point in his career has no wheels at all. So that's a wild line to me. The 2 young kids with the veteran who, he still has great hockey IQ, but this isn't the Kevin Hayes that lit it up in college or that made waves coming into the league with the New York Rangers. So funny enough, I think Kevin Hayes actually did the same thing that McGroarty did, but he got drafted by the Chicago Blackhawks, and he's like, nah, I'm not going there. So he ends up going and having a great career. Don't get me wrong, but at this point, you look beyond that top line for the Pittsburgh Penguins, nothing really jumps out at me outside of Ben Kindle. So I'm going to see with Rutger McGroarty, because if you're a Penguins fan, especially going into this year, where you're like, okay, we're kind of retooling around Crosby. People didn't think Erik Karlsson was going to have the bounce back that he has. He's had a nice season so far, but you were looking at Rutger McGroarty as kind of the poster boy of the next generation of the Pittsburgh Penguins. So we'll see how he looks tonight against the Ottawa Senators. We already talked about the matchup, the head-to-head numbers. We know that it's a 7 o'clock start and that the CTC will be rocking. I hope we get Lyndon Slewage for the anthem. That would be something special right there. Okay, Pillsy, the big news today that we've been teasing all morning is that Jacques Martin has been recognized and will be inducted on the anniversary of his first game coached with the Ottawa Senators coming up January 24th, right? Or 26th.
It's
nice.
24th or 26th, I can tell you in
nice. Sick podcast.
Moment.
24th. Boom.
24th. Yep.
And I have something really funny about this too, and then we'll get into the legend that is Jacques Martin, the winningest coach in franchise history, and it ain't even close. The Ottawa Senators posted their photo of the OG Jacques Martin, his first tenure behind the bench, the longest one, the one where he won the Jack Adams in 1999. And it's actually going to be exactly 30 years after he coached his first game with the Ottawa Senators. And in the photo, you see Magnus Arvidsson and you see Chris Neal. Well, our good friend Bruce Garriock's article had the 2.0 version of the team that Jacques Martin coached, and the players in front of him are Boris Tkachuk, Yuri Smejkal, and Zach McEwen. So he didn't quite have the same talent he was working with in his second stint behind the bench for the Sens. No. But the fact that it took this long is the question for me. Like, I know Brian Murray certainly deserved to be the first member of the Ring of Honor, but to me, I would have put Jacques Martin in second. And the fact that he came back after living such a comfortable life, I'd imagine, in retirement in Florida, and said, no, I really feel strongly about getting this team back on track. I've watched them allow the most goals in the league for like 5 years. It felt like they couldn't get a save. They couldn't keep the puck out of their net defensively. And he came back and he said, no, I want to be a part of this as an advisor first. And then when the opportunity said, we need somebody to help teach these guys, we got to move on from DJ Smith, with all due respect. They'd reached the end of the rope there. Jacques says, you know what? I got this. Oldest coach in the NHL at the time. And the fact that he stayed on, and Pillsy, we can speak from experience 3 days ago. I don't know if some people think that he's just like a senior advisor. He's in Florida sending in notes. This guy was boots on the ground in minus 30 weather in Minnesota and Winnipeg. He's traveling with the team for certain trips. He is still very much a big part of what this coaching staff is trying to do.
Yeah, and I mean, that was such a wild day when we got the announcement that he's going to be the head coach. It was like, wow, okay, this is the direction we're going. But I think it was the right play because that's someone that instilled a lot of respect from those players in that locker room. A very different switch from DJ Smith as a head coach to Jacques Martin, that's for sure. And I think he made the most of that season, and it really kind of changed the attitude of, you know, we got the fun uncle coach, hey, we're rebuilding, we're figuring it out, to like, no, we're getting serious here and it's time to tighten things up. And then obviously Travis Green comes in and that kind of mindset continues. But yeah, Jacques Martin, absolute legend of not only of the Ottawa Senators, of the game of hockey in general. So for him to be back with the Sens as an advisor, to be honored like this, it's the right move. And I think we've been saying all along, Ross, every time we talked about the Ring of Honor, I think both of our answers were Jacques Martin's got to be next. Got to be Jacques Martin. When is that happening? So here we go.
Huge, huge achievement for Jacques Martin, who is currently, and unless he comes back again, will remain in 21st all time in NHL wins by a head coach. You know who's 22nd? It's Brian Murray. Kind of cool that those two are side by side in their careers. Really, really, really happy for Jacques Martin, who coached 10 seasons total behind the Ottawa Senators bench, 69 more in the postseason as well. And this is going to be a fantastic night at the Canadian Tire Center. We're going to do everything in our power to be there for that. Stay tuned if we're able to make that happen. But whenever the Ring of Honor comes up, and now the Senators have a Ring of Honor of Ring of Honors. If you know what we do in the summer with those drafts, we do 4 each. And the Senators will now have 4 members of the Ring of Honor: Brian Murray, Wade Redden, Dr. Don Chow, and now Jacques Martin. Who would be next for you?
I think next got to be Craig Anderson. I think you got to go back to a player now.
Agreed.
And let's get a goalie honored here for the Ottawa Senators. No goalies in retired numbers or Ring of Honor. So I think it's time.
Yeah, I would agree with Craig Anderson. Some other great options, though. Jason Spezza, although they just did the pizza line night. So to me, it's like, you can wait a couple of years for Jason Spezza, but one day he's going to be in the Sens Ring of Honor.
And let's wait till he's not working for the Pittsburgh Penguins, please.
Oh, yeah. He'll be in town tonight, I guess, then. Interesting. Okay. Yeah. What do you think about maybe lesser known players overall, but that have had big moments? Like Kyle Turris jumps to mind for that.
Yeah, I think Turris would be a good one too. I don't think there's any rush on that, and I certainly think he's lower in the standings of next guys, but I think that would be an appropriate place to put Turris.
And again, it's not a rush, but I still firmly believe that Andrew Hammond should be in the Ring of Honor.
Yeah, I mean, it was just so legendary, yeah.
It might be one of the most legendary regular season runs in the last decade in the NHL.
Yeah,
21-2 to make the playoffs on the final game. So you can argue with that one for sure, but I think what we're both in agreement on is that it has to be a player next, because you've got 4 members of this Ring of Honor. You got 3 that didn't play for the team, and then you've got Wade Redden. Another kind of thought that I had when it comes to the Ring of Honor, and obviously some fans, they've got their thoughts about Chris Phillips and Chris Neal having their numbers in the rafters. Maybe those guys could have been the first 2 for the Ring of Honor. That didn't happen. But if we want to stick as a guy, I've got 3 names here of guys who are not players, but are also very deserving. Cyril Leader, coming back the way he has now as president again, but he brought the team to Ottawa. I mean, him, Bruce Firestone, those guys should both be in the Ring of Honor just for their contributions of allowing Ottawa to have an NHL franchise. And the other 2 names, Dean Brown and Gord Wilson.
Yep. Day
one. And they've been the voice, the soundtrack of the Ottawa Senators. The Leafs just honored Joe Bowen. I know it's his last year. We hope Dean Brown and Gord Wilson have many more years of calling Ottawa Senators games. But when the time comes, those 2 will absolutely be in the Ring of Honor.
Yeah, they will get their flowers. There's no doubt about that.
And Lyndon Sluich, too.
Yep, I'm down for that. And Ross, you know what
Lyndon Sluich should be next. That's my final answer, because I do think, and Jacques Martin said this, go watch the video, because this is actually a good point. You want to make sure that the guys who are being inducted can smell the flowers while they're there.
Sure.
That's important to me. So I think that the more senior options should be considered first, but maybe second next. Give me a player next, and then Lyndon Sluich.
How about this for Lyndon Sluich? Do the Ring of Honor ceremony on his last anthem.
But I want him to be singing the anthem until he can't anymore.
Well, that's what I mean. When he gets to that point,
but then will he be able to
the anthem?
But then will he be able to enjoy it as much? Right?
I mean, if you can sing the anthem, I think you can enjoy being honored.
I think he's going to have his fastball until the very end. Like, this guy is.
I hope so as well.
This guy's the best. I hope we get a Lyndon Sluich game tonight. And we were talking 2 days ago with Ian Mendez. You can go check out that interview with Jackson Starr as well. And, we're talking about the greatest moments at the Canadian Tire Center. And I wasn't kidding when I said Lyndon Sluich's anthem for Game 3 of the Cup Final. There's a video of the whole ceremony before that first Stanley Cup Final game ever in Ottawa with the 2.0 team. That was electric. And I think that it's no doubt that one day he'll be in the Ring of Honor. We were talking to Rudy before the game in Winnipeg, Pilsy, and he threw out a name that I hadn't really thought of for the Sens Ring of Honor, but he made a really good point about Marian Hossa. The fact that he is the first Senators draft pick to make the Hall of Fame. He did score 40 with the Sens too, so it's not like all of his accomplishments came after leaving Ottawa. Would that be a player that you consider based on that criteria?
No, I don't think so. He didn't spend enough time here, in my opinion. Like, how many seasons?
I'll tell you in a
5?
second. No, I want to say it was a little more than 5. Yeah, because he made his debut in 1997. So it was he played 7 seasons with the Ottawa Senators.
Okay, so a little more than I thought.
He played 7 his first year, so 6 full seasons.
Yeah, okay. So
389 points in 460 games, plus 65. I don't know. He was 10th in MVP voting the year he scored 45 goals.
yeah, I think he's close, but not quite for me.
Yeah,
And
but I do
even-
like the thought. It's like your first draft
Yeah.
pick who's a Hall of Famer. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, but it just like I don't think the NHL and other fans associate Hossa with being a Senator. Obviously, Sens
Correct.
fans do, but
Yeah.
it doesn't give that same vibe. I think they should be giving each Ring of Honor person a ring. You should get a ring for being in the Ring of Honor.
Yeah, I think that'd be pretty cool. And I should clarify the way I said it. The first inductee to the Hall of Fame that was a Sens draft pick, because Alfie was drafted before, but went into the Hall of Fame after Marian Hossa. So let us know in the comments your thoughts. Who should be the next inductee to the Sens Ring of Honor? But January 24th is going to be a very special night where Jacques Martin is honored for his continued excellence at teaching defensive structure and system to the Ottawa Senators. He coached the Sens' first ever playoff game. He coached the Sens through highs and lows, and the way that he gave his retirement up to come back and help this team. Certainly a very well-deserved honor. Pillsy, any final thoughts on today's show?
Yes, final thoughts for me is, Ross, I know you hate the shootout. However, if we see this game go past regulation, past overtime, and into a shootout, don't walk, run to FanDuel and get your money line bets in for the Ottawa Senators. The Pittsburgh Penguins are 0 for 5 in the shootout this year, while your Ottawa Senators are a perfect 3-0. So I wouldn't be upset if things get to a skills competition here, Ross.
I would love nothing more than to win in regulation, Pillsy. Don't let me even think about anything else.
So obviously, so would I. But I'm just saying, if it gets to shootout, you might as well put those 2 points and just get to the bus and skip it.
Okay. 6-6-2 at home this year. That number has to improve. And tonight is an opportunity to do that. We will chat with you, win or lose, in the postcast right after tonight's 7 o'clock start. So look for the postcast starting about 10 p.m. Eastern, and then it will be available everywhere you get your podcast. Thank you so much for making Locked On Senators your first listen of the day. And thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. If you're a true diehard citizen, the Everydayer All Access tier is built for you. So check it out, lockedonsenators.supercast.com, and join the Everydayer Club. For today, we say goodbye. Thanks so much for liking, watching, listening, and engaging with the show. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan, and this has been another edition of the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.